What's up? All right.
Not a lot of thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem, man.
So
Sorry, I'm just
I'm
trying to figure this out. It's been a while since I do live stuff.
yeah. Uh I'm glad you came on earlier too. That's cool of you.
Yeah, I was usually I wait till kind of the household went to sleep, and then I go to the gym, and then everything just went pretty fluent tonight. So I was able to get everything done fast, and it was just a back day, so got over with pretty fast.
Right on. So I'm Fox Syker for anybody who might be watching now or in the future. And I'll let you introduce yourself.
Iowa Retro Gamer Dad, aka Zach, YouTuber, gamer, about everything to do with that.
So yeah, for those who might not know, like what kind of content do you do?
Well, it's been over the past few years, it's really changed. When I first started off, it was a lot of collection videos. I was watching a lot of YouTubers, and I needed kind of a little hobby to do because I had started a new position where I work swing shifts. So 2 weeks out of the month, I am working overnights. So, like tonight, my sole purpose right now is to stay awake because I got to keep on my rotation. So I was trying to find stuff to kind of keep me busy. In the beginning, I was watching movies and stuff, but we all know once you get in your mid 30s and a little bit older, you start watching a movie. Sometimes you just get tired. So I had to start finding other stuff. So got into hobbies. I was watching, a lot of these YouTubers and stuff. I think it was about 6, 7 years ago now, and I was like, cool. I've been collecting games lately. I can, because I've been watching them. So I started collecting games. So I want to be big like these guys. So I'll start doing this. So I immediately started off with, you know, yeah, just easy pickup videos. I still have my first video. I've kind of over the years gotten rid of some of the other videos that are just kind of, uh, just don't really go with the channel or something anymore. But I have like the original one, which is like a minute and a half of me just holding my camera like this and trying to open a package, and it had a couple NES games in it. And obviously, over the years, we've progressed a lot since that. But I had dreams of becoming a huge YouTuber and stuff like that. And obviously, over the year, I've kind of humbled myself and went about that. But then it kind of went all over the place. It was doing funny videos, and then I was doing weird food challenges and eating spicy stuff and doing some other stuff for charity and everything that went along with that. And then I just kind of was like, my channel was just dying out, or it wasn't really dying. It was just stale. It wasn't getting anywhere. And I started actually covering retro game pricing and stuff like that and talking more about the collecting itself instead of showing what I've been getting. And by doing that, it seemed like the channel took off a lot more. And obviously, it was during the trend of DK Oldies. I had worked
Yeah.
my butt off for years trying to get monetized, and nothing was working. I had the subs, I had all the stuff, but I just could not get the hours. Well, the one shining moment that DK Oldies had was every time I popped a DK Oldies video out, I was getting a couple thousand views. So my watch hours just took off. And then finally, once the trend kind of died off, I was like, okay, well, now what do I do? I mean, I monetized. That was kind of the main goal. And I was kind of lost for a little while on what to do now. And then one day I just kind of was like, I think my wife and I were somewhere, and I was, buying a couple of games. And then she just kind of made the comment, is like, why are you going to get that? You don't even play it. And then I watched, about the only good thing I've ever lately that I've seen from our GT85 was he sold all of his collection, and
Yeah,
he
I
said
remember.
he just said it didn't make sense to have it anymore. And then something just kind of clicked, and it was just kind of like, yeah, I bought all these games kind of for the wrong reason. I tried to thrive with this YouTube channel, and it just kind of went bad. Like, it just like, and then I was like, then that point I was turning around looking in my room and just kind of like I had all this crap, and I was like, I'm never gonna play this. My son and I would play some of them, but that'd be the occasional like NBA Jam or kind of fun little games like that. It wasn't like him and I. He's too young to sit down and play Final Fantasy or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I I I basically vlogged my journey from all having a whole bunch of games and talking about my process, talking about the background behind it and why I needed to, kind of figure my stuff out, because I was obviously at one point, I'll admit, influenced by other people to have this massive collection. And then at that point, you know, my my subscribers, my friends are all like, you need to figure out, they were recommendations, keep the games that you love, keep the games you're attached to. And after I, started putting that philosophy into it, I had boxes and boxes of games that I was like, I don't need these. So I ended up to my local game store, trading them all in, just getting a bunch of credit because, let's face it, I still love video games. I just had a bunch of games I didn't love. And so I had a couple $100 credit at my game store. So every once in a while, I'll just pop in and be like, oh, I never really did have Zelda Link to the Past growing up. I'd love to have that physical. So I got that, after I got into Super Nintendo. And then the one time I went in there, and you can kind of see it right there, is a mint box copy of Final Fantasy II on Super Nintendo complete. And it's just, I've been wanting, that. So I was like, oh, cool. That was there one day. And I started getting games that I actually loved and connected to. But getting a little off topic anyways. But yeah, my content nowadays is more along the lines of progression with how I've kind of controlled my collecting, and also just kind of basically just game discussions and stuff like that, and sometimes just the stuff that people don't want to talk about. Like, I've done several videos on the dark side of collecting, like I said, my progress of how I was addicted to and hooked on the dopamines and everything and buying the video games. And then on top of that, it was just kind of like, people don't talk about some of the stuff that you're watching these YouTubers and you're thinking, oh man, that lifestyle is amazing. And it's just like, a lot of it's just kind of fake, and it's just what they want to show you. It's like with anything TV and stuff like that. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. They just want to keep buying and buying and buying, thinking that it's going to be amazing. And then, like you said, then you end up in my position where you're just surrounded by all this stuff. And then you're like, I don't even know if I really even like this anymore. So my content's about nowadays, trying to get more back into actual gaming and stuff like that, instead of, because there was a while back, there was one going around, is that whether you're a gamer or you're a collector. And I tried to justify being a gamer. And every time I kind of came around to it, it was more, okay, never mind, I'm more of a collector, because I don't even play these games. I just spend more time buying more than actually playing them. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do nowadays, is focus more on the gaming aspects of it. Some people will start seeing some of my videos won't come out as much, because I'm kind of focusing more on doing stuff behind the scenes instead of trying to pop a video out every 2 or 3 days, because that was the big thing last year. I took 2 months off basically from making videos because I was so just burned out, man. I was putting videos out. And then I was just getting to the point where I was trying to just find trendy stuff, whatever got the clicks. And then it was just becoming more along the lines of, I wasn't even happy with my videos anymore. I couldn't even, like, when I was editing, I didn't even like to watch them. So I was actually releasing videos that were missing sections or the audio cut out. And I didn't even know it, because I didn't even want to watch the video, because I was just like, I don't even like this content. So why is everybody else wanting to watch it? So after that, I decided to take a step back. I took about 2 months off and kind of just relax, and then did pretty good for a while. I still pop out probably way too many videos, but I'm having more fun doing it now than before, where it was like, oh God, this video didn't get 1,000 views. Oh no. And then I'd stress about it. But yeah, that's about where I'm at.
I hear you on the stress though, man. Cause I had like a channel for like 8 years. It never really went anywhere with I had like 300 subs on it, but it was too, like, diverse of topics and everything else. So I made this new gaming channel this year to try to, see if that's how the algorithm works, I guess.
Right.
But as Retro Rob said, it's pretty much a crapshoot.
Oh, I still don't get it, because you hear so many different things. Don't do shorts. Don't do live streams. Don't do this. But then you'll see guys like RNG Gamer, who does live streams. He does other stuff, and his channel is still like, every time he pops something out, he just knows the algorithm. Like it just like, and it's not like controversial stuff like drama, like look at this or did you see who's it's actual good retro gaming content. Same with like Retro Bird and stuff like that. It's nothing like
Yeah.
it's just retro game stuff, and then just anytime it's just like gold. As soon as it comes out, it just. And granted, I know they have a large audience now, so no matter what they push out, we'll kind of get that impression on to watch clicks. But yeah, it's a crapshoot. Like you said, I don't know. Sometimes it's just kind of like I'll have one video that I'll put out that I'll be like, oh, this one's gonna do awesome, and it'll do crap. And then I'll have one video that's just kind of like I threw it together in like 20 minutes, and then also next thing I know, I go to sleep and I wake up the next morning and it got it's hitting 30 to 40 views an hour, and it's just keep going. I'm just like, what the heck's going on? You know what? Why was that one out of anything better than the rest?
Yeah.
Insane.
Topics is a hard one too sometimes because you want to be unique enough to get noticed, and you don't want to be, repeating the same things other people do.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's the hard stuff is trying not to jump too much on the bandwagons. Because you don't want to be that kind of channel sometimes. I mean, and it really depends on the person's goal. I know a
Right.
lot of some people's goals when they first start up is I want to make a bunch of money on YouTube. So they'll start doing all that stuff. And I'm trying to think of the right word. They'll leave the shame at the door and just do whatever to get them. They just want to make a bunch of money, which I understand. I mean, I don't make much, 40, $50 a month, if that sometimes, but it's just kind of like, it's kind of nice that, 2 months I get a little check from YouTube. And then a lot of times I either put it back into the channel or the one time we used that money to go to Iowa Hawkeye football game. I took my family to go to Iowa Hawkeye football game. So, I mean, this fun little stuff that I do on the side does bring in a little chip change every once in a while. But yeah, it really just depends on the goal, because I know we all want to become probably famous. We all want to become big. And if we can do it
Yeah,
without
we'd
losing
all
our
like to be
dignity,
the next Tasman Gold or something.
yeah, yeah,
Man, I mainly my channel, I just wanted to put the more positive spin than what I usually see.
yeah.
There's enough pessimism around as far as, these games coming out, and gaming is dying. I don't really think that personally. I mean, what do you think? I mean,
It's personally it's not dying at all. And in fact, we got probably more places to play gaming nowadays. And in fact, it's starting to branch out. Like I saw rumors, that the Master Chief Collection's coming to Sony. It's coming
yeah,
to PS5, and I saw that, and I was like, this can't be true. But then I started seeing more credible sources saying this, and I'm like, okay, is this the end of times? Because I never would have thought, I'd see Master Chief on a PlayStation. But
yeah,
I honestly do not think gaming is dying. I think something needs to change pretty soon. These AAA titles are starting to see that they're just pushing out some games, and they're not hitting. And it's the same with some movie studios and stuff. It's just some of the stuff they're doing now. It's not what we want to do anymore. Like everybody knew that Suicide Squad was going to flop. They knew it, and then they kept pushing it out, kept pushing the game out. The game out, sorry, not the movie. And they just kept going for it, man. And then it did. I don't even think it made it a year, and they were already saying stuff about they're going to start cutting content. They're not going to be working on it anymore. And it was like, well, we could have told you that. Um, I think the indie games are thriving. I'm personally not a huge indie fan myself, but a lot of my friends that I talk to are just talk so highly of all these indie games come out, especially on the Switch and stuff like that. They're like they got the market cornered. But I don't think gaming's ever going to die. I mean, it's something that people do, and in fact, nowadays it's a sport. We have esports, so they're
yeah.
becoming more and more popular. They're posting, they're streaming. They're pretty soon they might even have their own ESPN channel, and stuff like that. So it's becoming more normal. And like I said, the one day I've known in my past. Like when I was a kid, you never saw, certain popular kids gaming. You never saw girls gaming. You never seen that nowadays. And you never saw all that. And then nowadays, you're watching even like with anime and stuff like that. Like my son, was varsity football. He did all this stuff, and yet he still binges Naruto and stuff like that all the time. And back in when I was younger, that would have never happened. They picked on you, they made fun of you, and they did all that stuff, and it's just becoming the geek culture and everything's just becoming more acceptable, and everything that it does with that. So in the gaming in itself is just becoming more acceptable too. Obviously, I think that's the only part that's good about some of this like Fortnite and stuff collabs. Like I
Yeah.
frowned upon seeing Nicki Minaj and all that stuff on there, but stuff like that, I guess, in the end, does improve gaming for certain aspects. But in and itself, the only thing that I think is somewhat dying nowadays, it just kind of seems like retro gaming in itself. I know there's indie games that are retro game inspired, but I do
Right.
feel like nowadays that if they don't start pushing some of the stuff out, if these companies don't start renewing some of these IPs or whatever, Konami especially, they have all these great Castlevanias and stuff like that. They're not renewing them. They're not making games for them. And it's just, I think if they started doing stuff like that, they might get a little bit more of a boost to that. But it's just, I mean, I can't say retro gaming is dying too much. People are still obviously doing it, but I think the trend of it is starting to fade away a little bit.
I think it's dying down for sure since like 2020, especially like I've noticed that like Pokemon cards are raising up now, and retro gaming and reselling is kind of tapering off a little bit.
Well, yeah, the big thing I noticed the other day. So my youngest son has been getting into. We've been trying to watch stuff, that's appropriate for him. So at night before we go to bed, we sit there for about 15, 20 minutes. And we watch TikTok. But what we've been watching is he's really into sports. We've been watching sports cards. So guys, buying boxes of sports cards, opening them up and stuff like that. And so he's been
Yeah.
getting into sports card collecting. And I stopped I hadn't been in a sports, card club store forever. And I popped in and there was a bunch of people in there. And I was
Yeah.
talking to the owner. He said, yeah, he said, I don't know, a few years back it became huge. And I think like TikTok and stuff like that was really pushing it. And then I was talking to him. I was like, yeah. He's like, I was in the retro game collecting. And before that, I remember people saying that sports cards weren't worth anything anymore. They weren't even worth the cardboard or fake cardboard or whatever they were posted on. And they were just pennies on the time. There were so many autos out from everybody that were becoming, they were becoming worthless. And then all of a sudden, now that's like you said, that's the stuff now is the Pokemon cards, the football cards, and everything. And it kind of seems like the retro gaming ass ones are kind of dying off a little bit. The trends for reselling and everything.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's wild to me because my son is recently into collecting them,
Yeah,
but the newest sets, the newest boosters, there's no way he can even get his hands on them because these
yeah.
adults pick them up and swoop them up right off the bat.
It's
So
nuts. My one video I just did was crazy stuff that retro game collectors and just collectors in general have done. And one of the DMs that a guy sent me that inspired that was that this guy would stock the shelves, not stock them, stock, like walk around and wait for them to restock. And he figured out which employee did it. And I guess that the guy had followed that employee home one night because he wanted to know exactly when they would be stocking them because he wanted to be one of the first guys in there. That was the story that he told me. And that was just nuts to me because that's how crazy these
yeah,
people are getting kind of with these cards. Now, being in small town Iowa, we aren't as impacted by that. Our Walmart still generally usually has Pokemon cards and stuff like that. But it's nuts just seeing those videos. Like the TikToks the one day is of them literally putting them up on the shelves and guys running down with carts just scooping them in. And I'm just like, holy cow. And then,
it's like Black
obviously
Friday,
scalping them.
you know.
Yeah. And I think, granted, TikTok has those, 15, 30, 60 videos. But the TikTok lie, I found that the sports cards themselves are becoming more popular is because guys are buying cases. They are basically selling teams, and then if they open those packs and then your team is in those packs, you get those cards. So that is becoming huge because people
Oh,
don't have to, you get the aspect of the, oh my God, what is it going to be in there, you know? But you don't have to spend that $200 and some on the case. You can just spend $20 and get your favorite team maybe. But I think TikTok and live and stuff like that is really kind of doing that stuff too. And obviously just Pokemon cards in general, I don't get it. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Pokemon. Like
Yeah.
blue and yellow are my jam. They were my favorite growing up. I absolutely loved them, and I loved collecting the original bit cards. But nowadays, like my son got some in his stocking for Christmas, and you know he opens them up, and there were so many shiny ones and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I don't even know if these are worth any money, because back when we used to get the holograms or the holograils or whatever, it was like, oh man, this one's got to be good because they don't see it often. Now every other one was flashy and XY and you know whatever, and I'm just like, and then I looked it up and I was like, oh, this one's only worth like 20 cents. What? You know, I don't know, but it's interesting to see.
I can't imagine though that like when some of them are reselling these boxes for like $1,000, that there's even $1,000 of value in the box. I mean,
I have, you know, I've watched. I'm a big fan of LA Beast, and I watched him. There was a famous year. I want to say it was '97 Fleer. Would be the Michael Jordan rookie card was in there, and that card is worth a butt ton of money. They were guys dropping hundreds of dollars, I think, on just packs, hoping that they pull that rookie card. He did a video and he actually did pull it. We bought a couple boxes, but he spent a bunch of money and he did get lucky and pulled it. But I'm just like, I know, and I'm here trying to justify, you know, spending $80 on a video game that no matter what is going to at least have some value, or you know, could sit here, or I might enjoy. Meanwhile, these guys are blowing hundreds of dollars on chances of just pulling something. Now, granted, high risk, high reward. I watched a guy the other night pull a 1-of-1 card out of I think it was it was a football card, a 1-of-1 out of there, and it was a rookie card. And I looked it up because on price charting, they got sports cards now on price charting, and it was like an $800 card just normally, and if you got it graded, it was even more. So it was just kind of like nuts seeing that stuff. And then, you know, of course, he spent maybe $100 on that box, and then about 10 times his money. But the same with like scratch cards and stuff like that. I always hear people, I won $20. It's like, okay, well, how much did you spend before you won that $20? Oh, I don't know, I bought about $50 worth. I was like, well, then you lost $30, man. You know, people don't see that sometimes. How much money worth of packs did he buy first before he finally pulled that good one? Did he just break even? And then it's nuts.
At least with video games, you can use them. You can play them.
Yeah.
You know, with the cards, they just kind of sit
I don't even know. Do they play the cards anymore with Pokemon? Do they have
my
like?
son doesn't even know how to play. He just likes
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know, and these packs that people are buying, there's not even energy cards in them. So I mean, you might see one or two. I can't remember if that's as much as they had back in the day, but there's not even like, yeah. And I asked my son that too, and he's like, I don't even know how to play it. He's like, the card looks cool though, but I was like, I'm surprised that might, and who knows, maybe maybe my algorithm hasn't found it. Maybe there's a whole, what do I want to say, a league of these guys that are still playing this game professionally that I don't know about, building decks and stuff like that. But I guess that's the same with like Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. I had never seen any cards over the last few years, and I thought it was dead. And turns out, as far as I know, it's still alive and well. In fact, there's famous people with $1 million. I think Post Malone had a couple of cards that are, I swear he said it was like worth $1 million or something like, or his collection was. It's nuts.
Oh,
but yeah, it's still alive and thriving, I guess.
I used to play like when I was like 13.
Yeah,
back in the day, but you know, I thought it faded out too, like Yu-Gi-Oh did.
Yeah,
you know, but
it's nuts.
I don't know. I guess it's like kind of like that tulip mania. I guess is that like everybody's just buying in because it's fresh and you might make an investment or money out of it, but.
Yeah, I got on that little bit of that bandwagon with crypto. That's a whole nother side video. All my buddies at work were doing it, so I hopped in on it, and then all of a sudden the market just crashed, and now I'm just sitting there like, man, you know, just fingers crossed that it'll go back up so I can at least break even. But yeah, that's the same with anything. It's just kind of like You sit or that's being 11 and a half years of sobriety and stuff like that. One of the things that they tell you at the meetings and stuff like that is if you hang around a bar, sooner or later you're going to drink. If you hang out at a barber shop, sooner or later you're going to get a haircut. So if you're hanging
Yeah.
around this stuff, sooner or later you're going to get into it, even if you don't hate it. I mean, even if you hate it, like my wife and her Hallmark movies. I'm not going to watch this. I'm not going to watch this cheesy. But if I stay around for long enough, I'll find
Right.
some that aren't that bad. I'll sit
Yeah.
there and watch them with her, and then I'll be paying attention. She'll be asking me questions about the movie. But yeah.
So, what games are you playing lately?
Well, I had dipped my toes back in a Ninja Gaiden Black 2, and I forgot how hard that freaking game was. So I've kind of been taking a break. I got a couple levels in that and took a break, and then I was checking out Avowed, which has been an okay game. But the other day, I don't know, how true it is. I saw that supposedly in September they're going to be dropping a 60-hour expansion for Skyrim, and Skyrim has been one of my favorite games of all time. So that has got, and then of course I've been watching dumb YouTube videos of guys doing. I played 100 days of Legendary as a necromancer and blah 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 and stuff like that. So I've been watching these videos lately, and then that popped up. So I actually have Skyrim going off in the downloading over here in the corner on my PS5, and I'm checking out mods and stuff to put on there because I was kind of like I said, you watch something long enough, you think about it long enough, you're gonna check it out. So,
Yeah.
so lately I've been playing Avowed, a little bit of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and then obviously I'm firing up Skyrim. Otherwise, the other night I did I can't get it out of that because our Retron 5's like got a death grip on it. But I was playing Jackal on the NES. That was one of my favorite games from when I was a kid. Didn't get very far, but I tried playing it. But yeah, that's about what I've been playing. I've seen you've been playing. Was it Dark Souls or?
Oh yeah, I was doing the return to the From Software events that started on Reddit.
Okay.
Basically for 14 days, we go back to each individual Dark Souls game or Bloodborne, Elden Ring, etc.
Yep.
So
okay,
I figured.
I'm sorry.
That'd be a good way to get people talking.
Yeah. So then I gotta ask this: were you always a big Dark Souls gamer beforehand and everything?
No, actually, I started with Elden Ring.
That's exactly what I did. So I hated.
I'm like, I want this.
I hated Dark Souls games. I remember getting Dark Souls 2, pre-ordering it on my Xbox One because they re-released it on it. I played it for 2 hours. And I'm like, this game is horse crap. Why do people love this? And I never touched it again. And then Elden Ring came out, and it was trending. It got Game of the Year. I said, all right, I'm going to check this out. I played it for 2 hours. I said, this game is horse crap. I can't do this. But I had a buddy at work that was really into those games. He said, hey, try this class. And don't, because I was always a hack and slasher. I just go in there, and then I'd use all my stamina, and then I couldn't roll. And then he got me going on, I think, a knight, which came with the shield. And then once I kind of was like, okay, block, parry, attack, and then I started taking down some people, it became a lot more fun. And then, of course, I kind of became obsessed with the YouTube videos, watching different people, how they did stuff and did class stuff. And, I loved it. I think my one character is, I platinumed it on PS5, Elden Ring. That's the only game I got platinumed because I loved it so much. And then I played the one DLC, and I enjoyed that. And then that also gave me a little bit more respect for the franchise or the company itself. So I went back, and I remember, I can't remember. I think it was one of the times I got COVID. So I was down here for like 4 or 5 days sick, and I remember checking out Bloodborne, and the whole time I was sick, just going through it because I was like, I don't know if I like this. And then I kept playing it, and then I was like, Bloodborne was freaking awesome. So then I was like, so I'm like, it's time to finally check out a Dark Souls game. So then I started playing Dark Souls 3, enjoyed that one. I haven't gone back to 2 yet, and then I played a little bit of 1. but I ended up getting stuck at one point. And I just lost interest, so I didn't play anymore after that.
Yeah, I got Elden Ring day one because, like I said, that trailer just like I need this in my
Insane.
life, you
Yep.
know.
Yep. Looked
And
absolutely gorgeous.
I didn't like it at first. I think a lot of people say that, but and then a buddy logged on, dropped some stuff for me, and
Yeah.
helped me beat the first actual boss and where to
Yeah.
go. And after that, it just took off. I spent so many hours. It's all I played for like months.
Oh, I know. And it was like I mean, it wasn't like Skyrim because I immediately loved Skyrim. I couldn't put Skyrim down from the get go. But it was kind of once I got into it more and I understood the combat a lot more, became like my new obsession. Like it was just kind of like I was like trying to do a quest, but then I'd find like a cave, so then I'd go off my quest and explore the cave. The next thing I know, I'm popping out somewhere across the map, and I'm like, what the hell? How did I even get here? And then I had to make my way back, and then something stupid, I'd walk into an area, and then it'd be like a hidden boss that would also pop up that was just an out in the field boss, and then I'd fight him, and then also I'd be like, wait, what was I doing again? And then I had to make my way back. But it was just like, yeah, it was such a great game, and like I said, it gave me I didn't need to go back to actually play the other ones because I was just like, okay, maybe I was just going into these games with the wrong attitude and the wrong way of thinking. I was hack and slash. It was obviously not hack and slash. And then
Yeah.
watching some
So
of these
after,
guys that are pro players is just nuts. Watching guys no hit run in no armor with fists and stuff like that
yeah,
is just it's
like let
insane,
me
man.
follow her.
Yeah,
Have you
just
heard
some of those
about him?
guys.
That
And I
guy's
follow some
crazy.
Aggie, and a couple other guys on YouTube I follow and Twitch, and just watching them do randomizers like they did one. He did the game, but every boss there was 3 of them instead of 1. So I mean, at one point he was fighting 3 millennias, and it was just like holy crap! And he's doing it. Like I'm just like, oh my gosh! Like how are you doing this? I struggled on the 2 golem ones. How are you
Yeah,
doing 3 freaking? It's nuts, man.
I don't know
So
if
then
I
obviously
like
that
him, but
that answered my question because I was going to ask what did you think about Elden Ring then, because a lot of people they did not like the open worldness, which was another discussion I had about why I think gaming kind of sucks nowadays. I personally don't mind open worlds gaming, but I hear a lot from people that they don't like the open world aspect, that every game seems like it's open world nowadays.
that's actually kind of what I liked about it, at least the way they did it. Like I was playing a lot of like Horizon and those other kind of
Yep.
open world games that they tell you directly where to go. Like
Yeah.
even Assassin's Creed Black Flag will tell you there's a
Yep.
hidden chest right here,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with Elden Ring, I actually had to explore to find stuff, and I always found stuff no matter where I went, and I
Yep.
actually loved that part about it.
Yeah, and like I said, that was the cool part. Going into a thing and then being like, wow, that it kind of reminded me of classic Zelda. You went into a dungeon and you're like, well, that wall looks weird, and you hit it with your sword and it's a fake wall, and there's a chest behind it, and it's just like, well, this game's got everything. The only thing I know that Elden Ring didn't have that the older other ones had was I was so happy with those mimics.
Yeah.
Opening those, oh man, I hated that. I always hated that because if you're a long time between saves and you're like, ah, cool, a chest, and you open it up and then it kills you, and then you're like, what the heck? At least in like Dark Souls 1, there was a trick to like hitting it, and then you could figure out which ones were real or not. But I was just like, what the heck, man? Spend all that time and then trying to get back to your souls or whatever, and then get killed on the way there and then lose them all, and it's just like, oh man, I'm a rage quitter, so if something like that happens, I will stop playing. I don't like repetitive, redoing the same areas over and over again. Unless it's
Sometimes
been a while.
I feel like, okay, I can do it better this time. But other times I'm just like, I need to stop for a while because I'm just getting too irritated.
That's exactly how it goes. I don't know how many times I've done that where I tried an area for an hour and I finally just rage quit, and I came back like a day later and then beat it first try. And it was just
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
just needed a freaking break. My mind was going nuts.
Yeah, after Elden Ring, that's when I bought the trilogy for PS4.
Yeah,
I figured it comes with all the DLC, so why not, try them out. And
yep,
then I finished Dark Souls 1 with using Fighting Cowboy. His videos really helped
yeah,
get me through.
yeah.
But because it's easy to get lost in Dark Souls,
Oh,
even though it's
it
not
nuts.
open
and
world.
and a lot half the like there's the primary bonfires or whatever, and then there's hidden bonfires in between of them that you don't know about that you can just randomly stumble upon. Because that was the same with me one time. I stumbled upon a couple that I didn't even know were there, and so I spent a bunch of time running between these bonfires, and then one day just randomly finding one halfway through, or stumbling into a way area way out of my league way too fast because like I think the one was I started with the key so I could open up the one thing, and then I was in like the valley or whatever with the dragons, and I was just like, oh, and then I ran up there and tried to hit one, and then it just like and then hit me and killed me in one hit. I'm like, whoop, I'm not supposed to be here. But
Yeah.
another franchise that I had a similar experience with was I was not a huge fan of Resident Evil growing up, and I
Yeah.
played Resident Evil 7, and I absolutely loved it. And so I was like, okay, maybe I can go back and check some of these other ones out. So then I played Resident Evil 4, and I absolutely loved it. And then they started releasing these remakes, and that was a franchise that now I love. That at the time, I don't know if I could go back and play the original ones on PS1 because I cannot do tank controls.
Yeah.
But the newer ones that they're coming out with, I'm actually being able, and I always loved the lore behind it. It's the same with like some of the other franchises like Mortal Kombat and stuff. I'm not a huge fighting game fan, but the story and the lore behind all of it is like you could sit there, man, and go down some rabbit holes, some icebergs of all the information, and it's nuts. And then the whole Mortal Kombat basically restarting and then doing a whole nother stuff now, and it's just like it's crazy, man. But
Well, it's good they keep it alive, I suppose, keep
I did think
the
the last Mortal Kombat though sold the worst out of any of them, but I think
oof.
yeah, it's getting
Well,
hard.
was it the microtransactions or like what
I
killed
think
it?
that's part of it. So the only, yeah, I don't know. I think that's part of it because that always leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. As just as soon as you start something and like, okay, well, if you pay $5, you can get this, or you
Yeah.
can, you can get this cool skin, and then people are like, oh, okay, and then you start saying, okay, well, now if you pay $20, and it's just like, or the whole buying season passes or buying DLC, whatever's, and it's just like,
Yeah.
dude, like that season pass
That's
was
why
as much as the damn game.
that's why I quit COD. I
Yeah,
just couldn't do it anymore.
I'll play Call of Duty like I got Game Pass on my Series X every once in
Yeah.
a while. And then I'll play Call of Duty that way, but I will not buy a Call of Duty game. And that's the only way I'll play it is if it's on Game Pass. And
Yeah.
that's
I
kind of
haven't
that's
played
the thing
oh,
too is it's just
yeah.
it's stupid. Like how much? I mean, most of the time it's obviously not anything like okay, pay to win, but some of the cool stuff like the skins and stuff, it's like you can't really unlock unless you pay.
Yeah.
But
I got Modern Warfare 2, the newest one, after not playing COD for years. Like
yeah,
Ops 2 was the last one I
yeah,
think I played. And I'm like, might as well go with the latest and greatest.
right,
And for a while I did the battle pass when it was new. But then they added on that Black Cell battle pass. So you're already paying $10 a season, but hey, if you pay $30 more, we expand that battle pass. And I'm like, that's just cheap.
yeah. It's so EA was famous for that with the Star Wars Battlefront 2. So they made it you could unlock, I think, the Darth Vader on the Darth Vader character by grinding a butt ton, But if you wanted to get him faster, you could just drop a bunch of money. And so people were trying to play the game grinding for Darth Vader. Meanwhile, these people that were willing to drop the money or parents' money or had credit cards were all playing as Darth Vader, and it was just pissing people off. And then I remember that was huge. I think that was what killed the Battlefront series was when they did that, and I
Yeah,
haven't seen a Battlefront
2042
since.
was another regret buy of mine. I
Yeah,
bought that based off the trailer, and it was a glitchy mess at the beginning.
yeah,
And after a while playing it, I'm like, I could be playing Elden Ring right now. At least that works.
right.
You know,
Yeah,
but
it's true. It's very true, and that's like the same with people are still. Why are you still playing Skyrim? Aren't you mad that they haven't came out with a new a new Elder Scrolls game? And I said I like Skyrim just because it's one of those dumb games that I could pop in and just check out of my brain. Just run around, wander a cave. I don't, unless I'm playing at a harder difficulty, I don't have to sit there and strategize. I could just, yeah. And that's what I like. A lot of times I love some of these dumb shooter games too, like Call of Duty, because they're quick and you don't really need to think. You just go into an area, shoot at the guy, and then respawn and do it again. But yeah, it's just,
Marvel Rivals is my recent trap. I
yeah.
actually like that one.
That was not too bad. I was playing it for a little while. It was because I just love the aspect of it. The problem was is there was so many damn characters. I was just like, I don't know which one to pick. I think I ended up being Venom for a while. I was enjoying Venom
Yeah.
because you could almost be dead and then you could turn, and then you could just activate a healing thing and then get out of there and then come back. But I was watching some guys on there are crazy. I watched this one guy, uh, Doctor Strange, a portal into the edge of the world, and somebody hit them through the portal and they fell, shoot out through the portal and they died. And I was just like, what the heck? Some of these guys are doing some crazy stuff on there.
Some people do pretty well with Jeff the Shark, but
Yeah,
I don't like playing him. But
I
I mean, I see a lot of
there was
people use him though.
there was that event going on with him, and I tried it a while back. I don't play it anymore, but like a month or so ago, there was an event with Jet the Shark. I tried playing as him. I'm like, this guy's, I can't do this.
It helps if you can swallow him up and then chuck him out outside of bounds. Auto
Yeah,
kill him.
yeah.
But I like Invisible Woman best.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had her. No, they did have her when I was playing. I think they just got Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah. She's able to turn invisible and from double jumping, which is super handy because she's squishy.
Yeah.
And then you can like do a dot and heal people from far away and all that stuff. It's tricky, but nobody blames the healer.
Yeah. Everybody's like, yes, please be the healer, because nobody ever wants to be the healer.
Yeah.
I didn't play much. I didn't play much World of Warcraft. I wasn't one of those guys. But from the little bit I did play, that was the one thing my buddy, when he got me onto it, he made me a healer because he said that when you do the raids and stuff, there's never a healer. It's always, a DPS, and that's it, and tanks.
Yeah.
And so he said, if you get a healer, you'll find matches like nothing. And he was right. The little bit that I did play, bam, 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 and I was finding them. But then you got guys yelling at you all the time. Heal, heal, heal.
I didn't play much WoW, but EverQuest was my thing.
Yeah,
back in the day. But
I didn't play that one. I always wanted to, but growing up, we never had a fast enough internet. We were always pretty cheap and had dial up, and you could never play those games on them. And it wasn't until that I moved out on my own that I finally got WoW. And of course, that had already been out for 10 years or so, but at that time, so it was just like, I mean, it'd been out so long that when you made a character, I think you started at level 30, just so you had a boom. That's how bad it was.
Oh wow. Yeah. I like MMOs. Like I play 14 as well, but FF14.
Yeah. I had gotten into Neverwinter a few years back, probably about 10, 11 years ago now, because it was free. And a couple of my other buddies actually were playing it. So I was like, oh man, you guys want to play together? So we'd do some of the quests together. But other than that, it's just like over the years, I haven't really played as much. I don't have time to really jump into any of those. So it's usually just short splurts of whatever game I can play.
Yeah. But yeah, other than for streams, I've just been playing mainly Marvel Rivals and some retro stuff here and there. I've been buying up all these PS3 games, but I haven't played them yet.
Yeah. Well, that's just, I know that's the thing. Sometimes it's just like I know right now Xbox 360 and Xbox One games are cheap as hell. There's a bunch of good games. Same with right now the PS4. Like so you could play, the PS5 being backwards compatible for basically every single PS4 game.
Yeah.
And with the way graphics are nowadays, the PS4 games look just as good on the PS5 as anything. And most of the times they have a free PS5 upgrade. Like the Skyrim collection I have right now is I purchased the complete one on the PS4, and I'm pretty sure that it had a free PS5 upgrade that I just downloaded, and the loading screen was literally popped up and I was already in the game, and I'm like, holy cow! Like that was the one thing I hated on the Xbox 360 was like, all right, load the game, and then I could go and make some food and come back, and it might be loaded by the time I came back.
Right.
But that's nuts nowadays with this modern gaming and just no loading screens. Like you get back into the action so much, and it's probably bad too because you don't get
That's
time.
what I noticed about PS5 is how freaking fast it is.
Yeah, it's nuts, absolutely nuts. You'll sit there like I said, it's almost bad because by the time you'll jump back into the game just after dying to that boss, and then you'll get in there and he'll kill you right away, and then you're just like, I don't want to throw the controller right away because it's just like you don't get that time to catch your breath between goes. It's almost like the back in the day when they had the unskippable cutscenes right before the boss. So every time you died, you had to watch that scene over and over again. I can't. Somebody had a funny video one time. It was a parody one of those, and they were doing the cutscene word for word. Everybody's dialogue. This is because they knew it so freaking good from watching it over and over again. It's funny.
Wow. So, what do you think of the PS5 Pro?
No point. There was no point. No point in it. I don't even think we've met the graphic capabilities of a PS5, let alone require a 4 or a Pro version of it. And that was the same with people were saying about the PS4 and then the PS4 Pro. There was really a point to this. I mean, I guess we did see it with Xbox One where they had the Xbox One and then they started releasing like the Xbox One S and then the Scorpio or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was really no point to it. I think, especially the other thing that paid me mad was they're all digital. Like,
yeah.
But then it was funny because you had these people that were so into pro physical media, blah blah blah, and then you'd see their YouTube video. Oh, I got my PS5 Pro today, and it was just like I thought you were so against digital content and stuff like that, but here you are buying something that's pure. Well, I spent the extra $100 and got the disk drive or whatever for it. I'm like, I said, you're just feeding into the consumerism of it then, because that's what they want you to do. They're like, oh, they just made you buy.
To find one.
Yeah, and I'd never literally seen them like, at Walmart. Yeah, exactly. I'd never seen them. So that's like, I had a buddy that I was talking to about that, and he goes, you know what you should do then? You should just every time you see one, bite it up, and just wait until everything goes digital. And those things will be like gold. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of work though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could easily see people. There's probably guys sitting on piles of them right now, just waiting until there's no more physical copies. And then, it'll be like when the COVID hit and Wii Sports went from like $10, $15 to $60, $80. That guy is just going to start dropping for $200 a piece, twice of whatever he paid, even more maybe, just so these people could get that physical aspect of playing. But I would never in 100 years probably buy one. Unless I found one on Facebook Marketplace, dirt cheap. That'd be probably the only way I'd ever buy one because I got pretty much a launch PS5, and it's besides having to send it in a couple months after I got it because I think some issues with the thermal paste or something. Other than that, I have not had any issues with it, and yeah. It just doesn't seem to be a point to it. My older boys, you could see them up, whatever there. Somebody asked me one time if I had 3 PS5s. And I was like, no. I said, those are my boys. Once they got, each one of them got 1 year, got a PS5. That was all they got. And each one of them got a PS5 for Christmas. And then I immediately took the boxes after they took them out because I wanted it for my display. But yeah, that was. Other than that, yeah, I don't even understand why you would need it, but Chiefs person their own. If they got that 600, 700, whatever bucks it was, cool, man. I wish I did.
I like the idea of pro enhancement, you know. I mean, graphically you can't really tell, but I bet you can feel the difference. But
I'm sure, like you said, I'm sure there's something, but I guess it's probably been longer than I thought. But I don't remember when did the PS5 even come out. Um, I think some of the people that were justifying it were just like, well, it's been so long since the PS5 came out. But if that's the need, then who's to say here pretty soon that they're not going to come out with some PS6 and then because that was kind of the thing with the PS4 Pro. I think it was like midway between the PS4 and the PS5, and then people were just buying it because they were whatever. I think a good selling point was obviously special editions. Like I remember my buddy had, God, which one did he have? I think I can't remember which, but it was that was the cool part about it was he had to. It was the Spider-Man one, I think it was PS4 Pro with Spider-Man or something. But other than that, it was just like. And then I asked him, like, "Can you tell the difference between your PS4?" And he goes, "No." I think maybe a couple seconds shaved off, probably loading screens, and
I was wondering about the Pro, but
and then maybe when you're on the home screen, maybe it loads up faster. Kind of like when you finally upgrade your computer, and a lot of times you can't tell too much, but you can tell that loading, like clicking on, like double clicking something actually opens it up a lot faster. A big thing I noticed was from back in the day is nowadays my computer my buddy built for me. When I turn it on, it actually almost goes right to the put your stuff in to log in. Whereas before it was like you hit the button and then you went and made a bowl of cereal and came back and it was finally there or something.
But yeah, my sister recently got me this laptop I'm using like last Christmas.
Yeah,
and I'm amazed like how quick those things can boot because I was using an old PC for a long time that just barely maybe could do PS2 emulation.
yeah, I know. That's I had a laptop upstairs that I can't remember how much gig of RAM. I think it only had like 6 gigs of RAM or something like that. But it was so freaking slow, man. It was just ridiculous. I think when I first started trying to stream, I had one of those Elgato boxes, and it took me forever just to load up the laptop to even. And then I was like, I can't even tell if I'm actually streaming or not because the computer was so slow. By the time that I was disconnected or lagging horribly, I wouldn't have known until somebody was like in the chat being like, "Man, you're lagging horribly. I can't see nothing." And then I'm like, "Oh, it looks fine to me," but obviously wasn't. But the laptop's actually sitting up there waiting to go to the graveyard. I have a hard time disposing of laptops. I'm always afraid that somebody is going to be able to somehow, even if you wipe it, somehow find some kind of information from you or something like that.
Yeah.
Bury it somewhere.
But yeah, I mean, so what's your GOAT? Your favorite game ever?
There's a few. Skyrim, obviously. More retro style would be about probably Super Mario World. I don't get how many times I beat that game. I could still, like I said, just if I got too much going on in my life, I'm stressed out from crap. It's just one of those games that you could pop on that you're just kind of like you could just chill and play, and you don't have to overthink it. Obviously, Final Fantasy VII is a huge one for me. That was that was a big turning point in my nerdom growing up. I was just not into like reading or anything like that. And then my buddy brought it over and we stayed up one night and played it for like 10 hours. I swear it felt like forever. And then after that, I got
the demake.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think
you had a case for it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember where I put it now. But I've been actually meaning to see about firing that up. I just always get worried about putting those things into consoles because I bought a Sega cart, a multi-cart off AliExpress one time and I went to try to use it on my Genesis, and I broke it. I broke something with the pins. When I pushed it down into there, it broke the Genesis. So I'm always
Oh, yeah.
weary about putting repros and stuff in and stuff because I never know how cheaply it's made. But I have been meaning about trying to fire it up one of these days. I might just try to. I mean, I got this Retron 5 here, but I would hate to. I just bought this thing for whatever. I'd hate to freaking ruin it, but yeah, Final Fantasy VII. Another one was Breath of Fire 3 on PlayStation 1. I was a huge RPG fan after I played Final Fantasy VII growing up, and I'm trying to think of some other ones. Resident Evil 4. I've played through that a couple times, and the Resident Evil 2 remake. I just finally fired that up one day on a limited playthrough Claire because I've never done that before. But yeah, those are a few of the definite ones. I could probably sit here and talk about my favorites forever. But
Yeah.
those I mean, those are the ones off the top of my head that I could think of. So they must have made a big impact.
You know, it's a tough question for a lot of people. Usually, it's hard to pick down and nail just one.
Well, that was the thing. I think, geez, it had been about 5 years ago or so now. That was the question for one of the challenge videos. It was Alone on an Island challenge, where if you got stuck on an island for a long period of time, what was the only 3 games you'd bring with you? I honestly don't remember what I had said anymore. I think Skyrim was obviously one of them because it's got so much replay value. But that's that was the concept of it, is trying to think, because obviously if there's a game that you can just keep playing over and over again and you love it, then that's your it's obviously a go to you. But then it also just comes down to the aspects of it too. What exactly makes a GOAT? Whereas like nowadays, I still think Michael Jordan's the GOAT, but kids in the next generation will say LeBron is the GOAT. And why? LeBron, yes, I think just scored 50,000 points or something like that, but he still doesn't have as much rings and stuff as Jordan had. And Jordan's career ended a lot sooner because back then they didn't play as long, didn't have as much good recovery stuff and everything. Nowadays, a lot of athletes can play for almost a whole more decade. So it's just a lot of the aspects that go with that.
Yeah. It's but you mentioning Resident Evil 4, that was my first GameCube game that I got. And it was the reason why I got the GameCube. And back then, everybody's like, just get the PS2, man.
Right.
Or, just get an Xbox later. And I'm like, but, Nintendo.
Yeah.
And Sega was out of the game by then.
So that has been a huge controversy in my tier list for my consoles, is Nintendo 64 and up. I ranked them low. I was, NES, Super Nintendo were like the best game consoles ever. But then after those, I just really was like, Nintendo kind of crapped the bed for me. It was, I did not like the 64. I liked games on the 64, but I was a huge PlayStation 1 fan. I had gotten that for Christmas, and then everybody else got, N64 as well. Everybody was coming over to my house because we had games like Crash, Tomb Raider, and it just ran a lot better.
Yeah.
Angry Video Game recently just did a video kind of proving that point when he was doing his Gex videos, and he was showing how the PlayStation 1 actually had cutscenes. It had better stuff. The colors looked better, better. And then the N64 one was pretty plain Jane because it couldn't handle the hardware or they couldn't handle the software and stuff as much because of its hardware. And then yeah, after that, because the whole thing is, I honestly don't understand how the Switch does so well. I like games on it, but I don't like. It's still, to me, maybe it's just going to always be forever embedded in my mind that Nintendo is a little kid's console. And and don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously, I know a lot of adults. I got a lot of friends that love the Switch and play it all the time. But to me, it's just like, I tried, man. Like Breath of the Wild, yeah, loved it. Tears of the Kingdom, I haven't played it yet, but I really want to. Mario Party, Mario Kart, and stuff like that. But even like Mario Odyssey and Mario Wonder, I couldn't play it, man. My son and I got it, and we played it for like one day, and we were done. Like, it was just not as fun as it used to be. and especially Wander. Like it was fun for a little bit, but we just couldn't get into it as much. And it sounds like blasphemy for saying that I don't enjoy a Mario game, especially when it was just Mario Day.
Yeah,
But
right.
yeah, but it's just like I think people are just kind of, and it's just like when I talk about stuff like that sometimes on the channel too. I don't want people to think that I'm talking bad about them. Like if you love the Switch, man, heck yeah, dude. And I'm not technically a fanboy of any kind, but give me my PS5 or my Xbox Series X, that I just got. Give me that over the Switch any days. I hate the Joy Cons. I shouldn't have to spend an extra $60 to get a regular Pro controller or something
Right.
like that. And then people are like, well, the Joy Cons, yes, they're versatile, but then on top of that, I think you spend 85, $90 to get two more of them. And we had 2 or 3 controllers that got that bad drift that we couldn't even do them anymore. So then I was sending them in all the time. I finally got lucky and had a buddy that could fix them, so I had to keep sending it to him. But then we get it for a month or so, and it just do it again. And then it was just kind of like at that point too, the Joy Cons are so small in my hands. I just hated it, man. And
It's
I'm
weird, the switches,
and I'm
but
what I want to say, I'm not a huge mobile gamer fan, and I know that's the huge aspect of it. A handheld gamer is going to love that, and I'm just not that. I'm just not a handheld gamer. I'm just not a big fan of it. So I've got some cool ones that I have for like the Game Boy Advance and stuff like that. I don't really even play them as much, but I just have never been. Like I said, I played Pokemon Blue, Yellow, Silver, and that was about it. And that's all I really remember playing, and so that's a
yeah.
lot of times that's maybe why I'm not a huge fan of the Switch. The main aspect of it is the handheld gaming, and I'm just not into that.
Yeah, I own a Switch and I got like, I don't know, maybe 11 games,
Yeah,
but it compared to my PS4, my PS5, PS3 and Xbox Series,
yeah, yeah,
I it just sits there most of the
yeah.
time.
The last time we played it was New Year's. The family came over. We played Mario Party, and then my oldest son came over one night, and he had his girlfriend with him, and we played. We had just gotten somebody in town was selling Mario and Sonic Olympics for like $10, so I picked it up. So we were playing that. Most of the games that we were playing on there, me and my wife would occasionally play Family Feud or Wheel of Fortune. Like we were playing party games. We weren't actually sitting down for some hardcore gaming on it. It was, and then maybe that's
Right.
the selling point kind of too. Besides the handheld mode, I mean, I don't really remember much. There's not really much party games on the PS5 or Xbox. So I mean, maybe that's the aspect of it too. But yeah, for the most part, the general time we play the Switch nowadays is just for party games. Um, and that was kind of the same thing with the Wii. Like that, I don't even want to get into the Wii.
Yeah, the Wii's a tricky one. I liked some games on there, but I mainly just used it for Wii Sports when I had
Yeah,
one. And
exactly.
that was about it.
And Twilight Princess on it was a freaking joke. I couldn't even play that. I'm trying to use the Wii remote to shoot at somebody, and I'm just like, this is not working. And just rather play the GameCube version.
Yeah, that's what I played on that one on Twilight Princess on the GameCube. But and mentioning back to the N64, looking back, I can say that I liked it, but I couldn't name you 10 games that I think are good on it,
Yeah,
to be honest.
it's don't like I don't want people to think that I'm just a Nintendo hater. I mean, like you said, I like Pokemon Stadium. I like Pokemon Snap. Turok, GoldenEye, obviously Mario 64, and Super Smash Bros. Games like those, yeah, they're fun. But there was
Yeah,
like so many more ones on the PS. Because I remember like when I was a kid, I had a PS1 collection, and I just had so many great games. And like you said that, and I mean the console was so bad that it's the easiest one to collect for. I think there's 200 and some games. I mean that's how bad the console itself was. Kind of like it was hard. And don't get me wrong, they were in that awkward phase of time where disc games were starting to take over, and they were still trying to put stuff on carts. So granted, I know a lot of developers had a lot of issues with them because they couldn't fit all the stuff on the games. And I think like Angry Video Game Nerd talked about that in Gex. Like there was one time where I think it was one song or something is on it's on the PS1 one because it had more room, whereas the N64 when they ran out. And I've always wanted to see this, do a comparison between Resident Evil 2 on the PS1 and Resident Evil 2 on the N64 because they said that was a developable nightmare trying to fit all that game on a freaking cartridge. And I'd just love to see how the heck they did it and how big it. I should do a comparison sometime to see what is all different between those two because that had to have been hard to fit all that on the cart.
Sony definitely came out swinging when they released that PS1, and they had all that third-party support for sure.
Yep.
And
well, Sony tried to get with Nintendo. And I think Philips did too. Philips had the CDI and stuff that came out, but they tried to get together and just Nintendo's always just been, nope, we're gonna do it ourselves. We're gonna do it ourselves. So then, Sony obviously was just like, well. I think they got with a couple other companies and they decided to put their own console out. And I remember wanting an N64 so bad just because I love Nintendo. And then I don't even know what made me change and switch it up to wanting a PlayStation. I think it was just the commercials. Like Sega used to do their promos with their commercials was insane. It blew you away. You wanted that. And I had a Sega growing up just because it was like, okay, these teenager kids are playing this. That means this is the cool one. I want the Sega. I don't know what blast processing is, but I want it. But I think that was the same with the PlayStation 1 was, you'd have these little like Mario and stuff like that. Meanwhile, you got Sony popping out a game and it's got a guy in a Crash Bandicoot mascot with an air horn going around town shouting stuff.
I remember that commercial.
And it was just like, oh, this looks a lot cooler than that. And then Nintendo finally started getting it near the end because I don't know if you remember the N64, the Smash Brothers commercial where they're all trolleying down a field and they just start beating the crap out of each other. But I think Nintendo finally started to get the little bit, hey, we need to do something to get these other guys into this. But yeah, it's nuts. Like I can't believe,
I think it's weird though. Like I remember, when I was a kid, it was Nintendo versus Sega almost exclusively. Like Atari was out of the game by that point.
Yeah. Atari almost killed gaming.
And then Sony comes up and then Microsoft comes up with the Xbox and I'm like, wow. And then when Sega left after the Dreamcast, I was just amazed by that.
It was a weird time. I only knew one person that had a Saturn. I knew nobody with a Sega CD or a 32X. And I knew nobody with a Master System. I was in my 20s before I knew the Master System even existed. I remember seeing a controller one time and being like, what the heck is that? And then I was like, well, it must have just been a different Genesis controller because, they had the 3-button one and then they had the 6-button one. And then, I didn't know nothing about that. And I only knew one person growing up that had a Sega Saturn, and it was my babysitter. And I think all she had was Knights or something. And then other than that, I didn't know anybody with a Dreamcast because at that point it was PS2 or Xbox. I only had one friend that got a GameCube, and we never went over to his house because we all wanted to play Halo or, SOCOM or something on the PlayStation. We were playing all those other games, and
man, that original Xbox Live was so hype.
Oh gosh,
Halo! I remember Halo 2. And
I remember the first night. My buddy got high-speed internet, and we figured out how to connect to it, and then I think. We had to run over to our other buddy's house because he had like the 3-day trial or whatever in the case that we could use that code for. So we get Xbox Live for like 3 days or so many hours or something. And I remember getting back there and finally figuring it out and getting in that first online game and just being like, oh my God, we're playing with people all over the world right now. And then just being blown away by it. And then just from then on, my one buddy, every time he made any money, that's all he did is he invested in that. And we'd go over to his house. And then just the fact, too, the system link. I remember one time we had 16 people in one house playing. We had I think couple consoles hooked up, and my one buddy had a basement with 4 rooms down there because he had like 3 other brothers, and they all were in that room. Each one, and we had it system linked between each room, and we had 16 people playing freaking Halo in one
Yeah.
house, and it was like the coolest thing. Like, it was like engraved in my brain. It was such a cool thing that I was like, there's no way we're ever going to replicate it. The only thing I
We
could
land
compare it to,
cabled it too.
yeah,
So,
like the only thing
we
I could
had,
compare it to is when those guys used to sit down and play. It was a Diablo and LAN party with PCs and
yeah,
stuff. That's the
yeah,
only thing I could really compare it to. Is just nuts. Nowadays, you don't even have to do that.
yeah.
It's just click a button and then pay a fee, and then pay a fee a month, and then you can play with anybody you ever want that has it.
You know, some people don't like the fact that you have to pay for online nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't really mind, but
Well,
eh,
and that argument always came up. The one thing I didn't like about that was with PlayStation was, uh, I don't even remember Microsoft losing people's information or getting hacked. And a lot of times that was my argument, was that money went for security for not being able to do that. Meanwhile, PlayStation, I think, pissed off that hacking group, and they got in there and got everybody's information. And it became a
yeah.
big controversy. And then I remember that, but nobody seems to remember that part of it. But
Man,
yeah,
that
it
was
just,
a while ago. But then we had
it
that
was on the PS3.
24-hour outage recently too. Who
Yeah,
knows how
that
that
was,
happened?
somebody told me to do a video on that, and I was like, I'd been so busy with work, I didn't even know what had happened. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, PlayStation Online's been off for like 20, like a whole day. I'm like, oh, wow.
There was a dude streaming until it was live again,
Yeah.
and he streamed like over 24 hours to, until it just hit and refresh over and over again to see if the servers are back
I
online.
watched some guys. I watched some guys do a network test for that new Elden Ring DLC that came out the other night, because that was the whole purpose of it, was to try and stress out the system by trying to flood it to see what they could do to, kind of like the whole Netflix and Mike Tyson fight thing, where they were trying to do, they want to start getting into live events, so they're trying to stress test it to see what the heck they could do and how to keep going with it. But yeah, it was funny watching somebody just go, oh, we played 2 minutes and they got kicked out. Now we can't get back in.
I applied, but I didn't get chosen to do the beta
Yeah.
test.
It looks,
I mean, it's Elden Ring, so
yeah.
I'll be getting it. I know I will.
Oh yeah, sooner or later. That's the way it goes.
So yeah, I mean, I like doing stuff like this, just chatting up games and stuff, touching those member berries and
Yeah. Yeah. Remember when?
yeah, I catch myself saying back in my day, now.
Yeah. We had a guy that started out at work who wasn't even it was a joke back in September, because he wasn't even alive for September 11. He hadn't even been born yet. And it was just like being that age, and then remember just knowing that fact that, that he'd not even been around for it. And then like what was the game you remember growing up? And it was some like 360 game. And then I'm just like, holy crap, man. Like, and then I'm like, well, I played Mario. He goes, and he's like, which one? The original. That one? That old? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I got my first Nintendo when I was like, I think 9 or 8. I was the happiest kid that Christmas ever. I also got the Game Boy that year, the original.
Yeah.
And that set me up. I was a gamer from then on.
That was kind of so I was born in 87, and I think the Nintendo started coming out more in 89. And I ever since I can remember, though, we had controllers in our hands. So I don't really remember. I had pictures somewhere of when I got my Nintendo and Super Mario 3 for Christmas, but I don't really remember it because I was so young. And same with the Sega Genesis, man. I don't know at what age. I'm trying to, you sitting there sometimes trying to remember what my earliest age of was remembering, Christmas presents and stuff like that. And I remember when I got my PlayStation. That was a big one. And I remember trying to hook that thing up. Speaking of that, I don't. I remember me and my dad cursing because he had the audio, video in and out cords, and he couldn't figure out because we were like, how the heck would we even hook this up? And then so we had to hook it up to a VCR. Then we had to hook it up from the VCR into the TV. We had to make sure we had the
Oh
right
yeah,
settings on the VCR, and it was just like because a lot of the CRTVs didn't have at that point they didn't have the audio. I can't think of the words for them now, but the RCA cords.
yeah,
So and then it was always a pain in the butt to try and hook that thing up because you had to always go through a VCR first. Nuts.
yeah,
Not like a coax where you could just screw it in.
yeah.
That was the other fun thing growing up, not knowing, trying to screw in coaxes when you're a little kid and you don't really know how it actually works and then struggling.
Or the what is it? The RF things that you screw
Yeah.
the screws back on to get it to work. I had
Yeah.
a black and white TV that did that with my
Yeah.
Nintendo.
It's crazy. Now you just put an
Nowadays,
AC
I tell
micro.
my kid about black and white TVs, and he's like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
back in my day, it's kind of like my
Yeah.
grandpa used to say, like, I used to listen to radio programs all the time, and
Yeah.
whatever, Grandpa. Now I catch myself doing that.
It's nuts.
So you collect to curate now, I suppose, or do you collect it all anymore?
I don't. I don't really collect. I buy to play. I have a system set up where I will buy one game a month. November, December, I went a little crazy because it was around the holiday season, but I buy one game a month, and a lot of times I will only buy that game that month if I beat a game first. So I have to beat a game first before I buy another one, just to kind of. And then once I beat that game, I really have to sit down and decide if I'm ever going to play it again, if I have any kind of love for it, and if not, I need to sell it. So like Silent Hill 2 remake, I got Black Friday for pretty good price. Played through it. I sat there. I said, I'm never going to play this again. It was a fun game. I enjoyed it, but I'm never going to play it again. I got my Silent Hill fix. So ended up selling it for pretty much what I paid for it and went on to the next game. But like Resident Evil 4 remake, played through it once, freaking loved it. And then I'm like, I'm going to keep this one because in a couple years, I'm probably going to play through it again. And then sometimes too, like they'll release DLCs or something for those I know, so I'll check those out.
I collect a bit, but I do intend to play every single one. I mean, I guess we always tell ourselves that,
Yeah,
but I figure, like I think I told you on one of your videos that like I got a list of games that I like. If I get all those, it's enough. Really.
See, that was the one thing too. Was somebody wanted me to do a video on my wish list, which I used to have on my phone, but over the years I just haven't updated it. So I thought about doing an actual wish list. But most of the issues is the games that are going to be on it are all like PS1 RPGs, and I'm sorry, but it's hard for me to buy those older disc-based games because I've been through 3 copies of Final Fantasy IX, and I get to certain points in the game, and the game glitches out. It either glitches out or it doesn't work because it's got a tiny little scratch or disc rot somewhere. And it's like, do I really want to drop, $80 on Breath of Fire 3 and it's just going to sit on a
Yeah.
shelf because I don't want to dedicate 20 hours to a game that I can't get any farther in because I thought, but it's obviously I can keep buying the game until I find one that works, but it's just it gets to be a pain in the butt.
It gets to the point a little bit for me. Like I'll buy and collect PS3 right now, and I'll buy the occasional PS1 game. But
Yep.
for the most part, when it's like PS2 down, I kind of just emulate it at this point because the prices for some of these things, like I'm like, I'd love to get a Saturn or like, experiment with those games, but to
Yep.
buy a Saturn, forget it today, those games are just insane.
It becomes it becomes strange that the games themselves are more expensive than the console itself. And a lot of times I mean obviously you can get a Saturn and get like Sega Daytona or Virtual Fighter 2 or games that are not even worth, like $2-3. But then
Yeah.
it's like if you want to get like what is that Clockwork Knight or something like that, and some of those other ones they become more expensive. That was like when I seen that Pick and Preacher was collecting Sega Saturn games, and I'm just like, oof, man. Like, and especially going after that Panzer Dragoon Saga one that's very expensive, a couple
Oh
$100,
yeah.
and it's just like, oh my gosh, as much as I love gaming and at the time collecting, I mean, the most expensive thing I've ever purchased was that Final Fantasy II complete in box. And at this point, that's almost an investment because it's like, I don't even want to take it out of there because it's mint and it's got everything mint. And my dumb butt will freaking bend the cardboard or something trying to take the game out. And I really don't want to fudge around with it. But then that's when I run into that chasing my tail thing of why do I even have it then? I'm never going to play it. And then it's like, should I sell it? And then I'm like, do I want to sell it? And I'm like, not really. I kind of like it. And then, like, most of the stuff, basically everything that I've sold, I have not regretted. And because I get that told, that was one of my big, one of the number one responses from all the naysayers when I sold most of my collection was, you're going to regret it. You're going to regret it. I could never do that. I'd regret it. And I was like, well, I'll try it.
Same thing.
Yeah. And in all honesty, I told people, I said, if I ever regret it, it's not that hard to just buy it back. With the internet and stuff, it's not like I have to go garage sales shopping stuff like thrift shopping to maybe small 1% chance of ever finding it again. I could just go on Mercari and search the game, and there's 100 copies of it. And if I really wanted that bad, otherwise, like, I think I have it put away, but I have a little RetroPie with 5,000 or whatever games on it. If I really want it, I could just, and it's plug and play. I just plug the power in, I plug the HDMI in. I got a wired PS3 controller set up, which is actually, you want to talk about blasphemy. I'm playing Nintendo 64 games on a PS3 controller. That's freaking insane. Yeah. But I mean, it works a lot better than the N64 controller. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like, if I really want to play it that freaking bad, I have other opportunities to do that. And it's just kind of like, and that was a big thing. I think the stepping stone to selling a lot of the collection was once I found out that, okay, these garbage games that I have for fillers, if I ever do get some need to ever play them, I have these emulation devices and stuff that it's on. My Super Nintendo Mini Classic, obviously it came with those games on it. Well, I modded it, so now it has a couple hundred Super Nintendo games on it. So if I want to play Chrono Trigger, I could play Chrono Trigger on something that's almost exactly the same as the Super Nintendo. And in fact, better because I have save states. Huh?
I used Hack T with my Sega Genesis Mini there.
Yep.
So the thing is, though, like, whenever I have, like, a bunch of ROMs, I never really play it that often. It's hard for me to, like, go through the list or, and stay on a game. I like having them and I like having the option, but it's like I
always made that mistake. That was one thing growing up, especially when I started getting adult money. I bought too many freaking games at 2 months in a row that I never got time to play one because I already had a next one lined up. A big one was, once again, referencing Skyrim. I remember before I could buy a Skyrim, it was sold out everywhere, so I bought Rage, the original Rage on Xbox 360. I got about 5 hours in that game, and I called a local Kmart, and they finally had Skyrim in it. So I drove there, I got Skyrim, and I came back, and I never touched Rage again. Never. I ended up trading it into GameStop, I think, because I got Skyrim, and then I was like, that absorbed my life for like a whole year. So it was just like that was one big thing I ran into, that's what happens. One time I had so much more fun downloading all the ROMs or whatever you want to call them, than I did
Yeah.
actually playing the games. I would just download them, test them out, and then I'd just go on and be like, oh look, there's this game. Oh, Tiny Toons Busters, whatever. I remember playing that one so much. I'm gonna download that one. I'm gonna download this one.
Yeah.
And I never got around to actually playing them. I had more fun downloading them and setting up this library, which is the same with collecting, I guess. I had more fun building the collection than actually playing the games. So,
Yeah. I need to do more PS3 play, but I don't know. I just like the PS5 right now, especially, but I still play my PS4 as well. And, I got the Game Pass Ultimate, so,
yeah.
I'm up to date with all the Xbox stuff. But
Yeah,
I like physical.
yeah. That's just been the changing point in me lately is I've even had somebody like telling me I need to change my channel name because I'm not a retro gamer anymore or some crap like that. But yeah, just the PS5 and Xbox is so convenient. Just so fast. I can just hop into playing and whatever. So like right now, if I fire up my Series X and I click on Ninja Gaiden 2, which I haven't even played in 2 weeks, I will quick resume to where I was the minute I shut it off. And that's
Yeah.
nuts. Like, and that's the same like right now with my PS5. Like we said, the loading time's ridiculously fast. Everything is just going on. Why would I want to play Skyrim on an Xbox 360 or a PS3 when I could play it on my PS5 now? And all I had to do was just re-download it quick. And it's just
A lot of people's
getting with the
vision of the
times,
future is digital, though.
huh?
And a lot of people's vision of the future of gaming is digital. Like, a lot of people assume we're going to go the way of Game Pass for the most part.
So, and
Kind
there
of.
was a lot of rumors going around. I think the PlayStation is still struggling with theirs, the PlayStation Plus and stuff. But granted that they did have the right idea to make it so that their retro games were available, because that was kind of the one thing. They started letting the PS1 games, the PS2 games, and all those other games. Like I think the one day was like I could play Ape Escape, and I was like, oh, what? I forgot all about this freaking game. And then
Yeah.
it dawned on the nostalgia, all the memories of remembering I had it, but I didn't have an analog controller on a demo, so I could never actually play the game because I just basically run around. But you needed the analog to swoop the net to try and catch the
Oh,
monkeys.
yeah.
But just all that stuff, and I was like, this is that was a smart idea. Like obviously Xbox was doing that with the OG Xbox, but PlayStation was obviously could go back a little bit farther. So that was cool. And then there was for a little while there's big hype of Dino Crisis, and I remember they made it available that you could download Dino Crisis on the PlayStation Plus. So that was really cool too because people could finally play Dino Crisis again.
Yeah.
And that's been, I think, a lot of times that's why people like it is it's essentially like, especially like us because we've seen the rental stores. That's coming up in a new video That's coming up in my next video is stuff that modern gamers won't understand. Basically, the new generation of gamers won't understand. And it talks about rental stores and stuff like that where we didn't have enough money to buy these games, so we had to basically rent them. But that's it's almost kind of like opening up Game Pass and being back at Blockbuster, being back at Movie Gallery, Captain Video, or whatever you had, because you had this vast wall of games you could play. Granted, you already paid for it, but you just got to pick one, and then waste the time downloading it and hoping it's not garbage. But luckily nowadays with the internet and stuff like that, you can watch videos to kind of give a general idea of whether or not you will like it or not. But yeah, I think that's.
You don't even have to download them anymore. In some cases, you can just cloud play it.
Yep.
So
that was the one thing the Google Stadia. I compared the Google Stadia at one point to the Dreamcast. It was just ahead of its time. But that was it. That pretty soon we're not going to even be downloading games. We're just going to be beaming them in We're streaming movies right now. We're streaming music. We're streaming everything. It's only a matter of time before we're going to be streaming games. They just gotta get the technology just has advanced far enough. Azura's Wrath I think that's the PS3 game that's really expensive. Azura's something like that. It's got the guy on the front with the big fist screaming. You can't download that game. You have to stream it. So I remember playing it, and because I never played it, I always heard it as one of those hidden gems, but it's too expensive for me to buy. But it was just crazy. Me sitting here, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm not even downloading this game. I just clicked on it and it's beaming directly in. And in all honesty, I've talked about this with people, and people can clip me all they want. I don't think the next consoles are going to have a physical option. I don't think the PS6 or the Xbox 360 XYZ or whatever is not going to have a physical option. Nintendo will. I'm pretty sure the Switch. Well, Nintendo will hold on to physical media the longest because, as far as I know, from people I talked to, the Japanese culture is much more about actually owning the stuff and having more of a physical stuff than they are, with that. But in all honesty, I have a feeling that, the next generation of console game is not going to have a physical option. Whether or not it's actually going to stay, subscription services or what. But there was even rumors at one point that PlayStation was basically going to just piggyback onto the Game Pass, and then they kind of started doing their own thing.
I don't know about the PS6 though. Like people are already starting to talk about it, and I'm like, it feels a little soon. Like,
yeah,
the PS5 had a bit of a rough start because of the whole, stock and scalpers and all that.
Man.
And then,
I heard somebody say the other day, some 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid made like hundreds of thousands of dollars just scalping PlayStations or something like that. And I'm just like, that's nuts, man. At that age, I was chasing girls, not trying to make money.
And they slowed development down too during that time.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why the Switch sold so well. Sorry, I think that's why the Switch sold so well. You couldn't buy the next generation of console gaming because they couldn't get them. So people were just like, well, I guess I'll get my kid a Switch because I can't get him the new PlayStation 5 that he wants or whatever. So that's got to be one of the factors too, is that we couldn't just upgrade to our next consoles because we couldn't buy them. I remember having to download an app. I think it was StockX or something like that. That would let me know ahead of the time when the PS5s were going to drop before I finally got mine. And then I had to wait. And then I said, okay, at noon today, Walmart's going to be selling them. So then I had to jump on the website at noon and grab it quick before anybody else.
I got mine like a year and a half to 2 years after it released, straight from the PlayStation site. They finally restocked, and I'm like, yes, stock price.
Yeah.
I refuse to pay scalpers. I'm like, I'll just sit on the PS4 until I can find one,
Yep. That's what I said. I sold my PS4 and most of the games to a friend. Her son wanted the PS4, so I made about half. I think I made about $300 off that, and I sold a few other things. So I had $500 sitting in my account. I just had to find a freaking PS5, and I remember finally my buddy telling me about these apps and stuff that they're releasing that let you know when they drop. And finally getting lucky and get one for retail. I told my wife, I was like, I'm not going to buy one unless I can get it for retail because I'm not paying $800 for it. Sorry. I had a buddy that got lucky and got a series. He paid retail for a used Xbox Series X because you couldn't buy those anywhere either.
Yeah.
And I remember him paying retail for one of those. And I was like, if it came down to that, then that's what I would have to do. But luckily, Walmart stocked them one day and I got one just in time.
But I think like you said, like with the PS5 Pro, there's just not enough incentive yet, at least. Yet. But
it's too much money. It's too much money. You don't get a game with it either. Remember back in the day? There you go. Back in the day. You remember when you bought a console and you got a game with it? You don't get games with stuff nowadays. It's nuts.
Now you got to get a special edition of some kind for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then you get a code. And my
Yeah.
boys, like I said, they got one got the Call of Duty one got the Spider-Man 2 one, and it just came with the code in it. I think I ended up paying extra and getting them the physical ones, and they didn't even care. They so they both got the expensive physical PS5s, and they only play digital only games anyways. My one son did like it because him and his girlfriend were watching Blu-rays and stuff on it. He said that was the cool part about it was he could get some cheap Blu-rays to watch instead of paying whatever price. But that was the only cool aspect of it.
My hope is the PS6 will have some type of AR or VR standard. Like it'd be like the one way I can see that Sony could, compete with the digital landscape that Xbox has right now. Just the way
So
it is.
I have not experienced PSVR 2, but unless some of these other companies kind of start getting in on that, I think that's obviously going to be one of the things of the future. Once again, it's a technology thing. Once they figure out the technology, but as far as I'm concerned, like obviously the Quest 3 or whatever, I got a Quest 2 and it's fun, and it's the old one. But I had a PSVR which was fun, but it had too many damn cords. That was the only bad part about it. But now the PSVR 2 has way less cords, easier to set up. Man, you want to see some? I don't know if you had a PSVR, but watch a
Uh-uh.
video on how to hook that freaking bad boy up. It was the worst thing ever. There are so many damn cords. Like it looks like a freaking a Sega Genesis with a 32X and the Sega CD hooked up to it. There are so many damn cords coming out of that thing. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
And then on top of that, if you wanted to hook it up with your PS5, you had to buy another cord to sync it all up. But that was the main thing. I was wanting to get the Quest 2 was so that way we could play that. But it was less like no more cords is essentially what it was. But
I
Sony,
always wanted
as far
the
as I'm
first one.
concerned, Sony's been doing really good with the VR scene, and I think that's one of the things of the future. We watched the movies, we've seen the stuff, people sitting on couches, just doing whatever. It's going to be
Yeah.
just like the Apple glasses and stuff. That's obviously the thing of the future.
Yeah. I don't know if it's PS6 soon, but
Yeah.
But the PSVR 2 I'm saving up for because I heard that you could play Resident Evil with it.
Yep.
Via VR and
Well,
Gran Turismo 7, and I'm like, that would be cool.
the PlayStation VR, the first one had you could play Resident Evil 7 on it. I remember watching Game Grumps play it, and it looked freaking hilarious because I don't know if you played that one, but the dad or whatever busts through the wall at one point to grab you, and it's just like, oh crap, like I couldn't imagine it, and good VR anyways, how real that would feel. Like I couldn't play some games in the VR because I was just like the anticipation because yes, you're playing a game, yes, it's not real, but you forget sometimes because your eyes are just like, it's out there. Like I could
Yeah,
understand, like if you ever watched Ready Player One and stuff like that, how the world would become so obsessed with living in a virtual reality because, it sucks sometimes out here, and you can do whatever you
yeah,
want through there. But after so long, that becomes your life, and then it's like when I'm playing Beat Saber, man. It's just sometimes it's like I know I'm playing a game, and then after a while, it's just like you take the thing off, and you're just like, holy crap! Like back in reality.
By the time I tried to look for the original PSVR and could afford it, I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah,
So then, I kind of gave up, and I'm
I
like, well,
bought
I
it
guess I
used.
missed out on Iron Man.
The game wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. That's what I bought. It some guy. This was years later. Some guy sold it for $150. It was basically the Iron Man starter pack with a PlayStation VR, so pretty new. And then a stack of games. And then I happened to be after I bought it, I went to Walmart, and like I said, this is years after it came out. They had one copy of the Batman game that was clearanced out for like $5 there, so I got that. That was it was less of an action game, more of a strategy like walk around game. But I remember at one point you were in the room and Joker is just like right there in your face, and you're just like looking at him and just like waiting for him to kind of just start following you with his eyes, and it's just like creepy, man. But yeah, there's some weird stuff. Like VR obviously at some point will be the future, but it's just a
I
matter of
just hope
time.
it's more affordable soon. That's all. Like, because it's almost as expensive as the PS5 itself right now. The
Yeah,
VR.
that's the crap. The crap part about technology is look at the Blu-ray player and the PS3, $600, $700. A couple years later, $100, and then give it a decade later, and they're giving them away. You
Yeah,
could buy probably a Blu-ray player for $5 somewhere from some guy on Facebook, and it just sucks at the time because everything is just so like, same with phones. It comes out, it's expensive. A couple years later, you could buy a refurbished one for dirt cheap, and then
yeah,
the problem is just trying to keep up with the Joneses or whatever that saying is, and it's impossible sometimes unless you have that disposable income. But
yeah.
yeah,
There's
even the PSVR 2, like you're saving up money or whatever for that. That was almost as hard to find as a PS5. I honestly still have not seen it in a retail setting. I have not seen it
yeah.
in a retail store.
I was gonna hope that like I could find it online somewhere or like maybe PlayStation directly, but I have my doubts.
Yeah,
It doesn't seem like they're really fully focused on it yet.
yeah. It's something new that they tried, and it works. I'd love to play Astrobot or whatever on it, but yeah, it's one of those things that I don't know about it. It's too much money.
Have you played the new Astrobot?
I have not. I played the first Astrobot. Me and my son enjoyed that. It's more of his style, but it was kind of fun seeing some of the nostalgia PlayStation stuff, like when you unlock certain stuff, and they had like a big model of the PS1 and stuff up, and it was kind of cool to see. But
Yeah, I liked Playroom, but I haven't played the new one yet either.
yeah,
I just
it must
haven't
have.
gotten.
It was all over YouTube, so and everybody seemed to love it. I don't know, did it get Game of the Year or it
Yep.
was? Yeah, so it must. I mean, it must be decent.
Boy, last game of the year was something.
Yeah,
We had the Elden Ring DLC and
yeah, that was a big controversy. People were trying to fight it, saying that DLC shouldn't be considered as Game of the Year, but in
yeah,
all actuality, it was almost its own game. I mean, it was Elden Ring 1.5. It was so
yeah.
much like 25 to 30 hours I think I took on it messing around, and I still didn't even uncover half the crap. I had to look up some stuff on how to do it because there was a whole area after I beat the game that I didn't even get in. I didn't even know it was there until I watched some guy playing. I'm like, where the hell's this guy at?
Yeah.
And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh god, if I went into this area and hit down this wall, or I had to do the one emoji or stance thing. I think I had to pray in front of a statue and then that wall. And then I unlocked this whole new area, and I was like, holy crap, I didn't even know this was here.
I wonder how some people of these people figured this out too. Like it's just
Yeah, because you went
crazy
down in
how
that one room. Yeah, besides doing that, praying to that one thing and opening the door, that you were down in that one room, and that one random wall. I think you had to hit more than once, and then
yeah.
it was a ghost wall, and then that was the other one that took you into a whole new area. And obviously people had to leak this. They had to leak it out because there's some people were just finding that stuff out too fast. And don't get me, whatever. I got a job and stuff. I can't play as much as some of these people. But you're telling me, and I'm sure if we looked, we could find it. Some guy alive somewhere hitting every single wall in Elden Ring, trying to find any secrets that are not. There's got to be a guy doing it. And maybe that's what happens. These guys do this right off the bat and just hit every wall till they find something.
There's apparently a wall too that like you have to hit it for 1,000 damage for it to break down.
Yeah,
And you can
I think it's
hit
in
for a
the
while.
where the right card, the snake guy. I think in his one tower, there's a shortcut you could take, but you got to hit the wall, like up to 1,000 damage before it goes down, and it's a little shortcut. I think it's nothing too fancy, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'm like, I can't even think about how people discovered this. But like, there was even people who figured out, like, with Dark Souls, I guess. I was watching a video about that. Like, people found out the first day how to enter the DLC, no problem.
Yeah,
They knew all the steps and figured it out that day. And I'm like, wow.
it's it's got it's got to be people. Well, not reverse engineering, but they look at the program and they can find the stuff. It's got to be
Yeah.
that's got to be it. There's got to be a quick way of doing something like that because, like I said, there's not some guy on YouTube live streaming hitting every wall 10 times just to see if he can find something. God, I forgot what I was going to say. There was something beforehand, but I
But that's
forgot.
the kind of the cool part, though. You could always play it like a bunch of times and still find new stuff.
Yeah. Well, that was what I was saying. Kind of the thing that's changed over the years. Super Mario World. There's five, whatever, 100 different ways to finish levels, do all this other stuff. And until you've played the game through 100 times, you still might find new ways. Like I still remember, we've talked about that with Super Mario Brothers 3 and stuff like that. Was you could play that for years and you'll still find stuff you didn't know about, a hidden block somewhere or something like that. And granted, sometimes games are like that nowadays, but maybe it's the internet and stuff like that. But stuff's not as hidden
Yeah.
as it once was. And I think that's because probably we have better ways. Because it used to be, you go to school, your buddy tells you, "Oh, hey, if you're on World 2-1 and you throw a shell at the one thing and it hits it, it'll do a vine up, and then you can go up into the secret level or find a skip." Um, I remember playing Super Mario Brothers 3 forever, not even knowing about warp whistles. And then one day I went over to my grandma's house and I watched my older uncle, I think he was about 5, 6 years older than I was. I watched him get 3 warp whistles. And I didn't even know they were there. And I was just like, what the heck? And then he just used them and then took it right to the last world. And then I was like, holy crap. Like, and then, but yeah, it was just like, that's how you figured stuff out. You either saw it in the magazine or your buddy was telling you at lunch at school.
Yeah, like Nintendo Power or something.
That's how I progressed in Final Fantasy VII. There's an area of the game where you have to dig up a harp up in the bone area. And there's this
Oh,
vast area where you had to dig. And I remember I spent one weekend digging everywhere and I couldn't find it. And then I went to school on Monday and I was whining about it. And my buddy goes, "Oh, I got a game fac or I got a strategy guide. I'll find it." So he went home that night and he drew me a map of the whole area and he put an X where the strategy guide told him it was at. And then I remember getting that and just sitting there at school all day, like this, like I can't wait to go home so I could finally progress in Final Fantasy VII. And I remember running home, digging there, getting the harp, and then just going into a whole new area, and then just finally just like being blown away. But that was the only way I'd be able to figure it out.
yeah, I wouldn't have beaten Zelda 1 if not for my friend who lent me his map.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, I don't even know, like, did people like bomb every wall or what? Like, just to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I think so when you used to call that number or whatever, they
Yeah.
showed videos of those guys sitting there in their cubicles and you called and that's all they basically did was they pulled out a binder with all the maps and stuff. And I'm assuming that the developers and the companies sent it to them. They probably paid for it or somebody, beat the game and wrote it all down and they just copy that. But that's the only, they'll be like, "Hey, you need to go into this room. You can bomb this to get a heart and bomb over here and then go this way," and that's how you get there.
I'm trying to think about how that might have worked. Like, just through the telephone, talking. Like, it'd be hard, I would think, to explain to somebody what to do, especially if some levels looked alike or
Yeah. Or you got some 6-year-old that called and getting mom and dad charged $1.99 a minute or some crap
yeah.
to pay just to figure it out.
Thank God for game facts coming later.
Yeah. That's another thing. That site is still going. I don't think
Yeah.
people are writing strategy guides really anymore, but the boards are still hopping. I couldn't believe that. I one day I was like, I had that, that moment. I was like, oh my God, you guys remember Game Facts? And I checked it out, and then I went to check out. I'm like, I could see in the top, the top list of the top games, Elden Ring was on there. I'm like, what? So I clicked on Elden Ring and I got on the board, and the board was still just like the first page was full of stuff that just was posted like and within the last hour, and I was just like, holy crap, this site is still freaking going. I remember one time getting in trouble at school because that was, they finally developed printers and the schools had
Yeah.
printers and, you could print whatever. And I remember getting in trouble with my dad because he was a fifth grade school teacher and I was on the computer and I went to print a fact and I printed the whole fact. So it was like 100 pages and it just kept coming and coming and coming. And I remember getting in freaking trouble because I was just like, he's just like, what the hell are you doing? Because he came in there and there's just a stack of papers. And I essentially probably at one point almost printed out a whole on how to beat a whole game. I wish I
I
could remember
almost
what game
did
it
that
was.
with RuneScape.
Oh yeah. Speaking of
Yeah,
RuneScape, that's made a freaking comeback too. That's weird.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how it is exactly nowadays, but I was there up until 2007, 2008 or so.
Yeah.
Like go to the school library, play that, and even the local library had good internet, so we do
Yep.
that.
Yep. I couldn't play it at my house because we had dial-up, but I remember going over to my buddy's house, and I remember I'd get so bored. At the time we had these PS2s and stuff, and I was actually playing Super Nintendo because he would sit there and just mine one area
Yeah,
forever. Forever. He would sit there and I was like, come on, let's play Age of Empires or, take turns doing something different. No, no, no. And he'd play the hell out of that game. And I remember I was playing like Blackthorn and stuff like that on the Super Nintendo that his dad had in the other room because I was so tired of watching him just trying to mine one area for one little thing. And then that was it.
yeah. My kid sister, when she was really young, I'm like, look at this game, isn't it cool? She's like, it looks boring.
Yeah.
Because all I was doing is fishing and then going
Yeah.
back to the bank and
Selling
fishing
it. Yeah.
more. And
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, it was crazy. I can't, some of the
but
stuff
back
that,
then, it was about being the top player. Get
yep.
first one to all full
Being able to
stats.
go into the PvP area and just own everybody and then take all their stuff. And I remember
Yep.
that many times not understanding that and just wandering into an area like, oh, I'm gonna explore, and also some guy comes up to me and just Gah! And kills me and then boop, loots me and then takes off. And I'm just like,
The first set of party hats were set up in the wilderness, which was crazy, if I remember right.
yeah,
That's where the drops were. So of course, all the PvP players were swarming that whole
yeah.
area. But later,
You
that
got
became a hot item to sell for gold on there.
that, yeah. So you want to talk about something weird that's kind of wrong with gaming nowadays is some of these companies or some of these games having auction houses.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it Diablo? Uh,
Diablo 3 had one.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Is if you got some rare thing, you could sell it for money or whatever at the auction place. And I was just like, there was something else I played recently. I can't think of what it was. Too, I think it was one of the Maddens or something like that. You could sell the cards that you opened up. If you didn't want it, you could sell it. And I was just like, what the heck? I think people were
Wow.
doing that with WoW too, weren't they? I think they were selling stuff for WoW.
Yeah,
Maybe they had an auction house in WoW.
I think they still do,
Yeah.
which is wild. But of course, that makes the gold farmers all that much more adamant
No.
because when there's real money on the line, people
Yep.
will farm and they'll bot and all that
Yep.
kind of stuff.
They'll find a way.
Yeah, it's like cheaters on first-person shooters and stuff.
Aimbot.
I used to watch a lot of that content too, like people caught cheating on COD
Yeah.
or whatever. Now I'm kind of like, Does it really matter? I mean, it's COD, so
Yeah, I did enjoy those videos. It was like top Twitch streamers caught cheating, and it'd be like somebody that was, doing it very good. Don't get me wrong, they were like, because there was obvious ones where the person would be over there and they'd shoot over here, and they would still like headshot them or something like that, and I was like, okay, yeah, you're cheating. But there'd be some that wouldn't, and then what happened is something would crash, and like the game would crash or something, and then it'd show the program running in the background, and then they'd be like, "Oh, I don't know what's happening," or they'd hit Control, Alt Tab, and bring up a different window, and that'd be the program that they were using, and then they,
yeah,
try and play it off as, I don't know what the heck that was, and it was like,
somebody
dude,
must have hacked my account.
yeah, somebody. I don't know what that program is. That wasn't there earlier, and it's like some aimbot or something like that, and
There's
then
always some excuse too. It's funny.
yeah, it's nuts. All right, man. It is pushing 4 a.m. here.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's
pushing
fine.
down,
This is
but
fun.
yeah, feel free to come back whenever too. You
Oh yeah,
know.
it's I got another buddy right now that's been wanting me to get on. I really wish I could do this more. It's just time consuming. A lot of times, having 3 kids and 2 jobs, it's really hard to really hop in on this stuff. But I have someone, a lot of times I always tell myself, oh, it's only going to be 30, 45 minutes. And the next thing I know is, even if the stream or the video ends, I still stay on the line and talk with somebody for like another hour, because it's just like you get talking about games and it's just hard to stop.
Yeah,
But
I'll be on the Rushmore show come Thursday.
are you?
Yeah,
What you going to talk about on that one?
boss music.
Boss music, nice. I
Since they're
think
doing music.
I'm gonna be back on there again in I think June, when they're gonna do movies, and I'm gonna be on. I think we're gonna do the Rushmore for training montages and movies, so that should be pretty fun. I already
I
got
want to
my I
get
already got my
in.
George picked out, but
I want to get in on the nostalgia month
yeah,
as well, but we'll see.
yeah. I always have a good time on that show. That's always good. Pretty fast paced, and usually got a good crowd that comes in.
But thanks for coming on. I do appreciate it. I mean, I know I'm kind of small right now and everything, especially on this channel, but
Yeah, it's
uh,
yeah.
this
I
is
always
kind
tell
of
people.
difficult to do.
I always tell people, it don't matter if you're big or small. We're talking games. I'll be on there no matter what. It's just like I said, it's hard to find the time. So I'm glad this worked out this way. I'm glad you shot me a DM the other day, because I completely forgot about this. And then I was like, well, you know what? This night I got nothing going on. Obviously we got to it a lot earlier and we good, which would be a good thing, because we originally were going to do this at 3 a.m. So it'd be pushing 5:30 before we would have probably even got this far in the conversation. So it's probably a good thing we did get to this earlier. But like I always tell everybody, it's not. Don't be afraid to ask if you got a podcast or something to have me on. If we can figure out the timing, man, I'm all for it. Especially, some people don't like doing live. I personally don't mind live. It's a lot of times it's easier for me, and then especially on my channel. But I know a lot of times people, it's easier for you, because then you don't have to edit anything. It just goes up. So
Yeah, I mean, I might clip it later if that's
yeah,
okay. But,
yeah, that's fine. I don't think I said anything too bad, unless you're gonna clip me out that I hate Nintendo.
right, I'm gonna make those.
I will retro gamer dad doesn't actually play retro gamers. I'm a modern gamer. Just clip that out there. But, no, man, this is a blast. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I do
Yeah.
appreciate it. You were like one of the first people I could think of to ask. So
I'm approachable. Some people, I'm not a huge channel, but I don't want people to think that it's just, that I'm above them. And I'm saying that on the channel all the time. I try to reply to every single comment that comes up. I might not reply to your reply, but I'll reply to your comment, because that's easier for me to find in the thing. But other than that, it's like, I love the interaction with the community. It's more important to me than the views a lot of times, especially nowadays, where it's just more fun to talk with you guys than it is to try and make it big. I make enough money with my other 2 jobs. I don't need another huge source of income.
yeah, this is pretty much just for fun for me to see how far I can go.
And that's the way to do it. I don't know if you follow Scroot's game hunting. But that was one thing I won a giveaway one time from him, and he noticed that I was starting a YouTube channel, and he sent me a letter with it, and he said that that was the one word piece of advice he had for YouTube is if it stops being fun, stop doing it.
Yeah.
If you're forcing it and it's not very fun, and that's when I took that 2 months off and came back refreshed. That's kind of it became fun again, and that's been kind of a motto from now on. Is that if it stops becoming fun, then I'm just not going to do it or take a break.
Yeah.
I told a lot of people that a lot of people have either deleted channels, hid channels, did all this other stuff because they're just like, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. And it's like, have you tried to take a break? No, I haven't. Just take a break first, because don't do something dumb and delete your channel and you're gonna regret it or something.
Yeah.
Just take a break. And who knows? I mean, it's not like the channel's going anywhere, It's not like YouTube's gonna be like, oh, he hasn't posted a video in a week, delete it.
We feel like that though. Like if we think that like if we're gone for a couple months, we're gonna lose everybody, but
Yep.
we usually don't
I found
really lose
I
much.
post videos are so my channel members get to see a lot of nights I will do 3 to 4 videos. I will edit them and I'll upload them. So sometimes my channel members will suddenly get 6 videos that they get to see before everybody else. Because then I kind of do like every 2 to 3 days I will release a video to the general public. So a lot of times people are like, "Hey, how do you find all this time to do games?" It's like a lot of times I will spend. It's almost like a shift. I'll spend 4 or 5 hours one night cranking out a bunch of videos, and then I don't have to do anything for 2 weeks because I've already got them done. Sometimes
Yeah,
it
I
works
found
better.
that out too. I can schedule videos. I found out,
Yep,
so I'm like, that's an awesome feature.
yep, yep.
That
And
way,
that's
I'm
basically
always on time.
yep. And that's what And I find, and I never used to do this, but then at one point I think I got like 5 or 6 members now. I was like, well, if they're paying $1 a month or whatever, I got to give them something. So that's been kind of something they've been loving is they get to see the videos before anybody else. So they get a comment, they get to watch them, and then that's kind of been a fun feature for them. So we've been enjoying that.
Yeah.
But all right, man, this was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. I will end the stream now, but thanks for coming and subscribe to this guy. He's cool.
I'll go ahead and I'll make sure I'll share this on my channel too. Maybe we'll get some guys here for you too, so you can check out your channel too.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm trying new stuff all the time. I'm still small, so I can experiment.
Yeah, that's a good thing sometimes about being that small. You got to find your niche or
Yep.
whatever the hell they said. So, all right, man, it's been fun. We'll definitely need to do this again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
All right. Yep. We'll see you later.
Yep. Thanks for watching, everyone.